Hello and welcome to episode 244 of Herpetological Highlights, the podcast about reptile amphibian behaviors and what they do, where they go, all these kinds of things. Science, you could say. I'm Tom Major. Joining me, as ever, is Dr. Ben Marshall. I'm Dr. Tom Major. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, doing good. Glad to be back.
Good stuff. It is good to be back. So we're going to be talking about toxins today. And I sort of alluded off to you, Ben, that there's going to be a massive, huge bombshell at the beginning of this episode. So steel yourself for that. Is all I can say.
I have absolutely no idea. And I'm also highly suspecting that you're overblowing the size of this bombshell.
Well, I am prone to getting excited about things, but this, to me, was a big deal. Yeah, so we're going to talk about toxins, and then we've got a few brand new species, actually. We've got some very cool new species that have been described from a group of lizards which you just think are kind of too big to have new species described, really, very much.
Too popular, almost.
So that's exciting. Yeah. Too popular, too mainstream. You'd think people would have seen them right now. It's kind of the reptilian equivalent of a new species of bear or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah. I quite like that as a comparison.
So yeah, we're going to be touching on that a bit later on. But first, we're talking about toxins. It's all about pain. Evolution of pain toxins. So things which cause us to be a little bit sore, and animals using them for defense and a bit of evolution stuff. So I'll introduce this paper. This is Repeated Convergent Evolution of Bradykinin Mimics as Defensive Toxins by Shi, Touchard, Schendel, Koch, Starobova, Niu, Tran, Ragnarsson, Safavi-Hemami, Vetter, and Robinson. Published in 2026 in Science. So huge paper, finding out some quite interesting things about toxins. So this is about mimicry, really, isn't it, in a way?
Is kind of, yes. I think thinking it in a mimicry kind of way is pretty damn interesting, because that adds a bit of almost motivation to, as we'll go through, it's pretty much convergent evolution in some ways as well. But the mimicry aspect of it, gives it motivation, gives it direction.
Yeah, so when we think of mimicry, at least for me generally, my mind jumps to animals that look like other animals. For example, the classic one that was in a David Attenborough documentary all those years ago, when Sir David, puts his hand in that little jar and pulls out a little harmless milk snake. But he's saying, "Oh, this looks like a coral snake, but don't worry, I can tell the difference," kind of thing. Or at least I think he's a little bit more modest than that. I think he says an expert off camera told him. But that's normally the case, right? Animal looks like another animal to trick a third animal, the observer, in this case, us. But if you zoom in and you get real small with it, mimicry can also occur in the genes, convergent evolution. And this is molecular mimicry of a hormone that we produce ourselves. So this hormone, bradykinin, is a hormone that's released naturally in response to tissue damage. So if you hurt yourself, part of the reason that it actually hurts is this hormone. The vast majority of vertebrates, so animals with spines, have this hormone. And it's thought to be a really ancestral trait that most vertebrates have held on to, because it's useful to know when you're taking hit damage as a human being.
That's a lot of damage.
One noticeable exception, actually, is the hagfish, jawless fish like hagfish and lampreys. You know, those weird little sucky characters that don't have jaws. They don't have this.
Oh. And is that part of the I don't know, body of evidence that's making it seem like it's quite ancestral, because we've got this whole group, because they split off quite early, the sort of hagfish and those sorts of guys, right? From vertebrates in general, they're pretty separated. So if that's where the loss is or gain is in general, implies that it's equally old, as in the peptide.
Very old. Funnily enough, I actually saw some lampreys this week. Working in the river, they were hanging around in the mud, in the silt at the side of the river. When they're sort of juveniles, they wait around.
They just rive around in the filth, do they?
It's literally like one of the more filthy existences that an animal could have. You really only see them when you're like electrofishing really sedimented rivers. And in this case, it was actually a digger digging out some muck. And there were all these little lampreys slithering around on the on the surface there without their jaws. When they're babies, they hang out on the edge of the river. And then when they become adult, they migrate usually to like coastal waters. And then they find a fish host that they suck onto. They just like eat their slime and a bit of their meat. That's how they live.
Strange beasts.
Yeah. Strange beasts. And they don't have bradykinin. Mugs. We do.
So they can't feel pain.
I wouldn't go so far as they can't feel pain.
Yeah, see, there's got to be different ways, right? I think that's this is a very particular way of feeling pain.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of debate about fish and pain anyway, about whether or not they truly feel pain. I mean, I'm assuming they do. I think they must. They seem pretty savvy.
Well, they certainly seem to have this compound which is directly connected to it. So,
Yeah, most fish.
Because it would seem a little odd to have this and not be utilizing it.
Well, quite. So we've got this peptide, this hormone, bradykinin, which pops off when we get hurt. And very similar, and like we say, almost all vertebrates also have this, other animals, birds, etc. You name it, frogs, salamanders. And they're also very similar, and they call them bradykinin-like peptides, found in the venom of some families of wasps. Ant venoms also have them. And many frogs also have these very similar bradykinin.
Would group those two guys together, right? Wasps and ants.
That's like the bigger group of some invertebrates. I don't know that much about that. But yeah, 3 different families of wasps and ants. Some ants have them. Not all ants have them. And many frogs have them on the secretions in their skin. And obviously they're assumed to have a defensive property in those settings because, this is very similar to a hormone that causes us pain. And what they wanted to discover in this research was like, okay, these genes which are found on these wasps and even the skin of frogs and in ants are very similar to the bradykinin that we have in our skin. Is it the same? Mm-hmm. Is it so ancestral that we actually share it among vertebrates and invertebrates? Or is it something which has been evolved separately by these animals as a kind of defensive mechanism? That's the kind of setup of this study. And then, they have some opportunity to think about maybe why they would need them. But I guess we can just bang straight into the headline, which is, no, they're not the same. They evolved separately as this kind of mimic, this molecular mimic of a hormone which we possess in order to hurt us, Ben.
Yeah, because why have something that does tissue damage when you can skip that step and just make the chemical component that leads to the perception, the step after the tissue damage and get straight to the pain-causing aspect. It's a wonderful exercise in efficiency.
Yeah. It's like we don't need to actually hurt these giant animals. We just need to make them think they're hurt.
Yeah, right.
That's really clever. Yeah. And what they basically discovered, they did some genetic analysis. They built a phylogenetic tree of all these creatures that have this bradykinin-like toxin. And they discovered that it's evolved at least 4 separate times, essentially. So it wasn't ancestral to really ancient life before the divergence of vertebrates and invertebrates. It keeps evolving, and it even evolved separately in the skin of frogs. And this is an animal which actually has the real bradykinin in its cells, but it evolved separately on the skin.
That's what's weird, isn't it?
Be a defensive peptide. Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, because the frogs and toads are, they're well embedded in vertebrates. Most vertebrates have this, like we said. So I don't know. In my mind, I would have thought that it would just be a repurposing of something that's already being produced, as opposed to being a separate, addition for the frogs.
Yeah, it's weird. You'd think it would be easier that rather than starting from scratch evolutionarily than to just repurpose something. But I guess what they're saying in this is that, there's this kind of suite of peptides which are used in defense, and they're quite like malleable evolutionarily. They can turn.
Yeah.
They'll sort of be mutations which make them do things, and sometimes they'll stick. And that's what's happened here. Rather than repurposing one from their tissues, they've developed a whole new one in their skin. And I guess that kind of leads on to the question of why do they need these things? So these animals have evolved this cool peptide which mimics pain, a pain peptide in our bodies and also the bodies of like numerous other vertebrates. And for some of these wasps, they're called the scholid wasps, and parasitic wasps who immobilize their prey with venom. So they find like a nice little grub. Normally it's a larvae of a scarab beetle. One of the beetles they actually parasitize is the cockchafer, one of the most hilarious names of any animal. And they inject the venom into the grub underground somewhere, and it essentially paralyzes the grub and makes it useless. And then it just becomes easy prey for their little tiny larvae.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty grim. I think in this case, they don't actually inject the larvae into it. Some of them, they eat them from the inside out. I think these ones, they lay them outside and then just eat the paralyzed grub. Delicious. And what, surprisingly, these authors actually went as far as testing the venoms from some of these insects in, or at least some of these wasps, in actual, what was it? It was, they put them into crickets. Crickets always get short shrift with these things, but they didn't actually paralyze the crickets. So they don't know if they didn't have enough concentration or whether when the wasps inject the toxin, they actually have like a route into the nervous system more directly.
Were they injecting the entirety of the wasp venom or just the specific pain-inducing peptides?
I think just the peptides. I'm not exactly certain.
Because that would make some level of sense that then the crickets weren't affected, because if the crickets don't have this peptide anyway for their pain recognition, maybe they're just sort of receptors aren't, geared for it, so it wouldn't have too much of an effect. Because isn't that kind of what the implication is with the specificness of this peptide mimicry? It's kind of got to be focused defensively because it's so tied to vertebrate pain reception as opposed to predatory purposes.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird aside that it also has a role in predatory purposes, I think. You're right, though. That is kind of a bit of a sidetrack, but I think it actually does both. But you're right. We're focusing on the effects on mammals. They think that the reason it didn't work is because of a concentration or delivery method thing, but it could also be the combination of stuff. But going back to the relevance with vertebrates and stuff, in wasps, they've certainly, in other wasps who actually use their stings more for defense, they've likely evolved for defense against vertebrates. So that's probably like the selective driver.
Yeah.
Looking why evolution favored this trait. Because, yeah, if you get stung by a wasp,
That's a lot of damage.
it really hurts, mate. Like, I've been stung by so many wasps. I'm a real wasp magnet, the lifestyle I lead. My general brazenness
the
around
choices
wasp
I made,
nests.
the wasp nests
Yeah.
I raid,
I raided my first nest just as a boy, and I'll never stop. I'll never stop until I'm so allergic it's life-threatening. No, I just get really unlucky. I think I don't know if I've told the story on the podcast about when I inhaled a wasp, like summer before last.
No, I don't think so. That sounds awful. I mean, maybe you did, but I've forgotten it. That sounds traumatic, both for you and the wasp.
I was at my friend Dev and Kit's wedding. Dev's a herpetologist, big up Dev, a friend of mine, worked on the Asclepian snakes. So, yeah, man, was at his wedding and I was talking to the bride and I actually was just about to have a sip of my wine. Mate, it was like the most civilized wedding ever. It was so nice. It was luxurious. We were loving it. It was at Kit's parents' house and we were actually about to play croquet. This is the standard of people that I'm interacting with.
Oh boy.
Yeah, believe you me. Nah, they're lovely. They're not really like necessarily what you'd think of croquet people, but it was very civilized. We're playing lawn games. And then next thing you know, I'm just chatting away. Ha ha ha, small, fun chat at the wedding. The party's just ramping up. It's like 7 p.m. You can tell it's going to get crazy. Like the vibes are spot on. And next thing you know, a wasp just sidles into my mouth. I breathed it right in. It stopped on my uvula, the little dangly bit in the back of my throat.
Mm-hmm.
I think I must have told you this story. But anyway, got stung. Oh my God, it's swelling up. Am I going to be able to breathe? Questions around my survival. The sting was stuck, embedded in my uvula. I had to manually remove it. I could feel it pumping the venom in. Pumping. Anyway, it came out. And then the next 45 minutes, I was sort of in a state of moderate panic. Mainly because I was concerned about my airway and it was swelling up quite a lot. What I found was that as long as I didn't lay flat on my back, I could still breathe. So I had to sort of stay sitting up. Maya, bless her, was panicked for hours. I think she watched me sleep, watched me gurgle away for quite a long time. But
well, I mean, that is also understandable.
Yeah. I had to go home though. I couldn't stay. I was
justified panic.
I'm in a lot of pain. eating, drinking, now very painful activities. I can't really breathe. I can't really talk.
No crochet for you.
It was devastating, mate. I missed the
Croquet,
party.
even. Not crochet.
Maya was absolutely furious as well. She was like, we've had to go home from this wedding that was clearly going to be so much fun because you've been stung by a wasp in your throat.
Because you're not watching where you're breathing.
Watching where I was breathing. And also, do you know what the main problem is? And a lot of my problems in my life root back to this. Too much mouth breathing.
Too much mouth breathing. Get a bigger nose.
Yeah, mouth breathers, man. That'd be a good soundbite to clip, actually, from Clerks when he talks about mouth breathers. That'd be a good one to have. So, yeah, devastating. But yeah, so in wasps, this bradykinin-like peptide has evolved for defense against vertebrate predators, and it works. It ruined a wedding for me.
But let's move on from wasps. Wasps don't even have backbones. Get them out of here. What about the frogs? Frogs, the same sort of deal,
yeah.
right? Defensive surfacing? What's the word? Coating. Defensive coating
yeah.
on their skin. Do not lick amphibians, basically.
No.
And I mean, we know plenty of frogs have even more potent toxins than even this. This is going to cause you discomfort.
Is it though? Because I understand it will, and it's in loads of toads. It's in the fire frogs. Sorry, I think mostly this one, isn't it? Fire-bellied toads, which are themselves actually more like frogs.
Bombina.
Yeah, and also it's even in Rana temporaria, our very own common frog.
Yeah, the
but
default
mate,
frog.
I've handled those things at length, and I've never had any kind of pain from that. So maybe it hurts in the tummy, not on the skin.
Well, that's what I'm imagining, right? Because it's got to get to these receptors in some way. Yeah, if it's not making it through the skin, then maybe it's not reaching them and not having an effect there.
Yeah, okay. So it's the classic case of one has to die to teach the predator the lesson that it
Well,
guts out.
Yeah, die, or maybe, I don't know, maybe there are different parts of the body that do a better job at soaking up this peptide than just your hands, you know? Because a mouth is very different from hands, and maybe combined with like bitter taste and things, it's all just adding, because it's not acting in isolation either. That you mentioned the reason they've been able to sort of develop a separate peptide that's separate from their own pain one is because they've got this suite of genes that are quite flexible in terms of generating these sorts of things. So it's not going to be acting in isolation. So yeah, maybe it just needs a little bit of help, but it is part of
a little bit of help. Yeah, absolutely. So there we go. You've got pain toxins evolving in vastly disparate groups of animals, and they make us sore. They also work really well on birds, which is great because a lot of birds will eat insects. Makes sense that way. Yeah,
I mean, it all makes a lot of sense. It's all tallying up. It's just sort of this fascinating flexibility in these sort of chemical weapons, I suppose, is one term to put to it. But it's something that comes up in the venom literature all the time, right? The flexibility of the systems to make these different chemicals and how they sort of bounce in and out of existence through evolutionary time. It really is showing that that's not just venom for venom's sake, but also defensively, these chemicals are equally as flexible. You can really see how these arms races sort of kick off. The classic, was it rough skin newt? And whoever eats the rough skin newt, one of the grass snake-like guys, one of the Thamnophises, right? Maybe? No.
The garter snake.
Is it garter snakes that are doing it? But you can see how these arms races really pick up, and then we talk about evolution being quite slow, but when there's so much flexibility, you can see how actually changes, adaptations would happen very quickly and very intensely.
Yep. Right. So let's move on from a pain-causing peptide to some pleasure-causing lizards.
Okay.
Well, you've not done.
What?
Did you?
I was waiting for some bombshell. Is what I'm waiting for.
Oh no! The bombshell's after everything.
Oh, I see.
Bombshell's any other business bomb.
Oh, okay. It's hanging over us. That's what it is. All right.
Yeah. Oh, did you think it was going to be to do with that paper? Yeah. No, no.
I thought it'd be to do with something.
You just hang on. I know you're excited. Okay, so this is by Zazaya, Reed, McCaw, Pavon Vasquez, Gale, Wright, and Brody, 2026, hot off the press. We've got 3 new species reveal an unrecognized clade of rock monitors from the eastern Australian savannas, published in the Zoological Journal of the Linnean Society. So we're talking about rock monitors.
Not a song by the B-52s.
Is that a song by the B-52s?
No, rock lobster. It's rock lobster. It's that's what I'm getting at. That's what we should have had ready
lobsters,
to go.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's rock monitor.
Okay. Well,
we missed a trick.
Okay. Well, can't win them all. So yeah, we've got 3 new species of rock monitors here from Australia. Rock monitors, things. I mean, the thing that comes to me when I think of rock monitors are the Aki lizards, the Aki monitors, the spiny, the yellow and the red.
Mm-hmm.
They're generally sort of, I mean, the Akis are they've got quite a fat tail. I think most of these ones that we're talking about here are quite slender little monitor lizards.
Very slender, very elegant monitor lizards is how I would describe these guys.
Yeah, and monitor lizards, of course, really, really famous group of lizards. Famous for watching out in Africa, monitoring the waterways, right?
Is that where the name comes from?
Was it something to do with like if the monitor's chilling, there's no crocodiles or something?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, something along those lines. I mean, so they say, so the story goes. But we've got 3 new species, and it really isn't, because these things are so big, they're relatively large lizards. I don't think these ones are quite diminutive as far as monitors go, because you get the giant like water monitors. Of course, Komodo dragon, massive, the biggest of all lizards. These ones are a little more diminutive. They appear to be Saxicolus rock specialists.
Yeah,
living in
over a meter
Australia.
SVL. Though you call them some, they are big as terms of lizards. So
that's
1 to 1.5
That's
meters.
that's actually pretty huge, to be fair. I mean, how do you want to do this? Should we just talk about the three different species, starting with Iridis? What a name!
Yes.
So this one's Varanus iridis, or the rainbow rock monitor. I mean, what a great name!
And
the epithet iridis derived from the genitive form of the Latin iris, meaning of the rainbow. So it's like the Skittles monitor would have been a good name for it.
if you wanted a branded monitor, yes, absolutely.
I would have actually, nothing would have upset me more than if they'd called it the Skittles monitor, actually, as you know. So I'm glad they didn't.
Awesome looking lizard. Absolutely outrageous. So yellow head, sort of blue-green neck, down to sort of burnt orange body and tail.
Yeah, like sort of spotty on the back as well. It's so nice looking, and it's got a really slender head. It really looks like it pokes that head into little crevices.
Yes.
And finds bugs and such. It's a beautiful little lizard. So yeah, slender, but grows to over a meter SVL. That's quite big. Is that right for this species? Huge.
I mean, I'm assuming it's in centimeters.
Yeah.
Iridis.
No, it's in millimeters.
Why did I assume it was in centimeters? Why did I go there?
Yeah, so it's like 14 centimeters long, 15, but with a really long tail.
That's a far more reasonable size.
Mate, I was looking at its proportions and I was thinking, if that thing's a meter long, that's like some wiry creature.
Never use centimeters. Centimeters are a dead unit.
Yeah, we hate centimeters. I mean, I don't feel that strongly about centimeters, but Varanus iridis, really nice little lizard.
Yes.
Not as big as Ben says. That would be
not
too
yet.
Big. So that's one of the species, and I think all these species we're describing are kind of separated geographically to.
Yes, they are by quite a way.
Yeah,
they do make mention. So they've got this lovely section at the end of the paper, sort of getting at the, really addressing the fact that the sampling could be more substantial to really fill in the gaps in like exactly where the split occurs, because they are allopatric in places, so they are co-occurring. But they do go into some detail discussing the sort of why they're still confident that they're separate.
Allopatric means they're together. Apart. Sympatric means.
Oh my gosh! Can I just not read this paper? If I should just entirely give it over to you at this point. This is getting out of hand.
Just riffing. Well, no, Ben, you're ahead of me because you have been reading the paper.
About how good it's done me.
I've been looking at the pictures of the paper a lot, which I, by the way, really like.
Okay, well, slightly changing thing. Yes, allopatric, right, separate. I think then more the point is that contact zone stuff is an unknown.
Yes, you're right. And looking at their figure.
Because they are highlighting there was a couple of papers looking at the snake splits in the southern US and how contact zones and things like that, depending on how you sample them, will look, if you're not sampling in the contact zone, it can sort of over-exaggerate differences from individuals that are far ends of their range, but really it's just this wonderful gradient and they're all essentially the same. So yes, questions there because the sampling is quite separated, but regardless, they have done a pretty thorough job here. Certainly it seems like it. So less of a concern here than others.
And they're not sampling them from individual localities. They've taken their actual specimens they've used for genetics from like quite spread out areas. Like they all have at least sort of like a 50 or 75 kilometer stretch that they're like looking at each species, and then they're kind of separated by like more than that. So, they've done their best. It's not always easy. I mean, especially as these things living in remote areas, tough to actually get samples.
Like apparently quite secretive too. There's this nice line towards the end saying about extensive fieldwork, finding them very, not seeing them out in the open. And they give two possible explanations. Either the lizards are secretive or the authors are oblivious. And I feel like the latter is not, it's not written papers enough. But like ability to find a thing is a massive deal. It is, an entire half of the job. So it's not just that they might be secretive, but being rock dwelling, you can imagine actually it's probably a large chunk of that too.
Yeah. So we mentioned Varanus iridis. That's the one with the rainbow monitor. We've also, and actually it's called the Varanus iridis group. So Varanus iridis is sort of the de facto leader of these new species. Then we've also got Varanus umbra. Should we do Varanus umbra next?
Yes.
This is another very, very cool looking lizard. This is the one with the kind of very orangey, yellowy head. Not quite as jazzy as iridis maybe, but
not as multicolored.
It's pretty damn special.
Yeah, very, very special, and can get very orange on the head.
And
then into a sort of slaty, almost, slaty blue-grey, light blue-grey, I would say, on the rest of the body.
Yeah, and it's actually that distinctive coloration that's given it its name. So the orange head and forebody transitioning to dark grey hindbody evokes the appearance of being cast in shadow or resembling the horizon at dusk, hence the name umbra, meaning shade or shadow. Umbra will be familiar to fans of the Pokemon TCG, as Umbreon also shares the same root name, the shadow dark evolution of Eevee. Just to help you remember it, Ben.
I like it. All right.
Varanus umbra. Boom. Cool name, just flawless, honestly. And then the third one is Varanus phosphorus. I mean, they're just hitting them out of the park with these names.
I do love these names.
That's unreal. So that one, the yellow-headed rock monitor, obviously phosphorus, famously a yellow. What do you call it's a element?
that's I think, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not the element I think of when I think of yellow, if I'm honest, but
no, sulfurous. But there's already Varanus sulfurus, right?
Wow.
Pretty sure. Anyway, you talk about the origin of the name specifically, and I'll just check to see whether I'm chatting nonsense about. I think sulfurous is the yellow
something monitor. So they're getting at this idea of light coming through the spots. So we've got this beautiful, these monitors, they have sort of ring coloration across them. And so the name's getting at, you've got these lovely sort of yellow. It's not changing the pattern as it hits the head. It's more just the rings changing from a sort of tan grey into a yellow as it sort of moves onto the head.
Ah.
So yes,
okay,
carrying
nice.
light, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah, or the yellow-headed rock monitor. And also I Googled Varanus sulfurus. I'm chatting nonsense. You can get water monitors which have a sulfur mutation that makes them yellow.
That's what, okay. Well, so it wasn't coming from absolutely nothing then, but just not.
Well, like any good misremembered thing, there's a fragment of sense to it, but not much. Like most things that come out of me nowadays. So,
have we said where they're from? Have we given any details on the location?
We've given a glimmer of an indication in saying they're from Australia in the east.
So northern Queensland is really where we're centering in on. We've got the iridis is centered around Mount Surprise, and your phosphorus is sort of more around Cooktown and along the coast. Umbra further east than even iridis is. So this nice gradient from coast to inland.
Yeah, and the habitat features all look kind of broadly similar. These rocky outcroppings they seem to love so much. Really just classic Australian looking, like a little bit of nice tree cover and then these big rocky outcroppings that they probably are scuttling over. They do mention that because these things are so damn cool, they could be under threat from collectors. One of them has already popped up in the pet trade labeled as something else. But
that's the trick, isn't it?
Yeah, but they think it's unlikely to present too much of a threat because of how remote these places are.
While I defer to the authors in terms of that judgment, I would also say never underestimate the ability of money to push people into hard to get places to get something if it's worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Wise words.
But I think the good thing, though, one thing that's a genuine help with the pet trade business and trade in general is I'm pretty positive the entire Varanus genus is blanket listed under CITES. So even though they're the sort of new species, which tends to be a little bit of a new species, therefore unregulated sort of thing, they should already have some level of protection. And I'm fairly certain Australia, in the grand scheme of things, is closer to doing a better job than a lot of other places.
Well, there's just a blanket export ban, isn't there, from Australia, reptiles?
And how's that going?
Well, not superbly well, but it does exist.
This is why I've got all these little... That's why there was so much couching language in what I was saying. Because in principle, yes, exactly how effective things are is another question. But please, let's just leave them be. Let them live their lovely lives on their rocks.
They're just so cute. All right, well, there we go. 3 new species of Varanus, if you can believe that. Monitor lizards from northeastern Australia.
Beautiful.
Okay, Ben. You ready?
Ready for
you ready
what?
for this absolute bombshell that's coming your way?
What bombshell?
So we've had an email from Maddie Baker.
Uh-huh.
And Maddie Baker, I'm going to read this email. They've emailed in. Hi, Tom and Ben. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller, as they say. I love the podcast, so I truly hate to be the bearer of this news. But I've heard that Tom just got to celebrate the incredibly good news of having a healthy baby boy. Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, he's doing very well. So perhaps he can take this. Ben is winning the frog call game, and the true score is 5-4.
Uh-oh.
Maddie goes on to say, at the risk of revealing myself to be just a little bit insane, I would like to share this spreadsheet that I've made over the past year or so. I listened to the podcast while at work and have replayed quite a few of the episodes. Once one of you mentioned that you don't write down the names of the frog sounds you use, I decided to start taking notes.
Yes, correct. They are. I think they're mostly in the show notes, or because we record where the calls come from.
Ben, the information is unobtainable.
It's unobtainable. It can't be found. Carry on.
I mean, are you going to trawl through my show notes and find these things? No. I mean, you're right. It probably is mostly written down somewhere, but this is damn fine herpetology work. So as it turns out, there were a couple of earlier episodes where one of you correctly guessed the frog after some prompting and you didn't count it as a win. This is why my strongly biased.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I will be honest with you, Ben. I did not intentionally deceive you. Okay.
Well, I'm not going to read any ill intent here. Partly because I don't put much weight on this at all. But also, I trust you, dude.
Thank you, mate. Yeah. So, where was I? Yeah.
Now, was it a case that the prompts were so intense that giving a point would have felt unjust?
I don't know. And honestly, I'm inclined after the effort that's gone into this that we just take Maddie's
I'm
word
happy to.
as
I'm
gospel.
absolutely happy to.
I think this is the new score.
I'm just trying to
get
into your mindset.
Pretend you don't care.
To
Don't ever enter my mindset, mate. It's irreversible. And so I suspect either you weren't planning to track points or you were going to count pure correct guesses where you got genus and species without any hints. I don't think we're that strict.
And also that's giving it a lot of credit that we had this thought out before, as opposed to it just becoming a thing.
Your ones are usually something like, the motorbike frog or the helicopter frog. If you can get that, that's enough, right? It doesn't have to be genus and species. We're not encyclopedias.
Hey, you remember the motorbike frog, though?
Don't patronize me, Ben. So Maddie goes on to say, by today's standards, this score is the correct one. Bonus points, Ben's points, and then there's a list of the episodes. So you've scored points in 113, 139, 143, 171, 237. Technically also 175, but that was the snail-eating snake. It was going to be your AOB. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
A bit confused by that. But we're gonna say 5. And then my points are in 115, 145, 169, and 207. Maddie says, I propose that you could now reuse frog calls from this list that neither of you got correctly the first time, but now might have a chance to guess. Well, not a bad shout, actually.
That's not a bad shout.
A little cheat sheet.
That will really reveal the hearing something and it not entering our brains problem.
That could actually be quite disappointing for us to realize that not only do we not know anything, but also we're incapable of remembering.
Maybe we'll do that as a batch, like a special or something. Quick fire frog round, maybe.
Yeah. So Maddie says, that's not terribly fun and new content for the podcast, though. Alternately, perhaps you could find some Northeast USA frog calls that I might guess along with you. Okay, message received. And he says, thanks so much for your work on the podcast. And again, I am so sorry, Tom. Oh, well. Maddie, honestly, it's fine. I really appreciate the effort
Big up yourself.
that's gone into this.
Keep it real.
As disappointed as I am, being as competitive as I am, to find out I'm losing 5-4. And honestly, the spreadsheet is a masterclass.
I mean, this is work in science, dude. We're used to just reality not being what you want and having to weather that.
Wow. Yeah, you got real deep. So, mate, it's got episode number, name, common name, and species name, and then a note.
Fantastic.
Yeah, denoting whether or not who's got a point. Oh, apparently it looks like we once said something didn't have a common name. Maddie says it does. It looks like here. It was Rao Chesty Shillongensis, the Shillong bubble nest frog.
Oh, that's
Very
a
good.
fun
This
name
is the
too.
kind of detail. This is a great resource. And I don't know, I'm assuming Maddie's going to keep this updated for us, or maybe like we could share, but it'd be great if Maddie, you could continue as the head of.
Oh, it's wonderful. So all this talk. So what are the scores then?
Did I not say you're winning 5-4?
5-4.
scumbag.
Okay, so it's narrow. It's the narrowest
It's
of
narrow.
margins. It's
Yeah, but next week you're guessing, so you've got a chance to go 2 up.
oh yeah. Go that. What a genuine fear. How many have we done? How long is the spreadsheet? Versus what's our success rate?
We started, the first correct answer was episode 113, so we've had at least 130 odd episodes, and it's 5-4.
So we've got a 5.
Oh no, wait, but that's divided by every other episode, so it would be like 65 tries and around about 9 right. So it's like 1 in 6 or 7.
That's better than I expected.
Yeah, it's actually not terrible. That's actually really good. Well, yeah, just the best email.
Wow.
Really enjoyed reading that. And thank you very much. So, yeah, in terms of, we've got more AOBs.
Oh,
Just to say that we've...
yes.
Oh, go on.
No, I'm going to jump in front of you because I've got one that's tied to frog call stuff. AmphibiaWeb, which is absolutely a wonderful source for frog calls and frog information. They're doing a little donation drive to keep the lights on and stuff. So I just wanted to shout them out and point people towards that if they've got a couple of bucks to throw them, because it's such a cool resource and has helped us out massively looking up all these little frog facts, common names. Wonderful place to find out some common names, stuff like that. Yeah. AmphibiaWeb. Throw some money if you
big
got
up
it.
AmphibiaWeb. Yeah, we'll put a link in the show notes then. Maybe we should consider donating to that.
I already have.
Oh, well, yeah, I feel like, that's, aren't you good? All right, wicked. So, AmphibiaWeb, thank you very much for everything. And all the people who upload stuff to there, your heroes. And,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, hopefully you don't mind us ripping them off. So we've also got some new patrons. We've got Ronnie Vega and Kevin Loop. So thank you very much, both of you, for supporting the podcast. If anyone else wants to, you can. Patreon.com/HapHighlights. We massively appreciate everyone who donates to us there. I haven't got anything else, Ben, in terms of any other business for this episode.
Nope, that's me. Just the AmphibiaWeb stuff.
So yeah, great to see some new species of Varanus. Really cool science paper about toxin evolution, making us go ouchie. We'll be back next week for a new episode of the Frog Calls show.
Now the records have been
Can't
set
believe
straight.
you're winning. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Devastating. My day's ruined.
Anyway, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.